everything he needed. A river that flowed in full tide all the open season, with possibilities of almost limitless timber booms in its backwaters, a delicious setting for a village, with the pick of a dozen adequate sites for the building of lumber mills. He could hope to find nothing better, so he stayed. His beginning was humble. He started with a horsepower saw pit and a few men up in the hills cutting for him. But he had begun his great struggle with fortune, and in a man such as nature had made him, it was a struggle that could only end with his life. The battle was tremendous, but he never hesitated, he never flinched. Small as was his beginning, 6 years later, his present great mills and the village of Malkern had begun to take shape. Then, a year later, the result of his own persistent representation, the Canadian Northwest Railroad built a branch line to his valley. And so, in 7 years, his success was practically assured. Now he was comfortably prosperous. The village was prosperous. But none knew better than he how much still remained to be achieved before the foundations of his little world were adequate to support the weight of the vast edifice of commercial enterprise, which, with his own 2 hands, his own keen brain, he hoped to erect. He was an American businessman, raised in the commercial faith of his country. He understood the value of monopoly, and he made for it. Thus, when he could ill spare capital, by dint of hairy borrowings, he purchased all the land he required, and the lumbering rights of that vast region. Then it was that he extended operations. He abandoned his first mill and began the building of his larger enterprise further down the valley, at a point where he had decided that the village of Malkern should also begin its growth. Once the new mill was safely established, he sold his old one to a man who had worked with him from the start. The transaction was more in the nature of a gift to an old friend and comrade. The price was nominal, but the agreement was binding that the mill should only be used for the production of small building material, and under no circumstances to be used in the production of rough bulks. This was to protect his own monopoly in that class of manufacture. George Truscott, the lumberman with whom he made the transaction, worked the old mills with qualified success for 2 years. Then he died suddenly of blood poisoning, supervening upon a badly mutilated arm torn by one of his own saws. The mill automatically became the property of his only son, Jim, a youth of 18, curly-headed, bright, lovable, but wholly irresponsible for such an uphill fight as the conduct of the business his father had left him. The master of the Malkern Mills, as might be expected, was a man of simple habits and frugal tastes. In his early struggles, he had had neither time nor money with which to indulge himself, and the habit of simple living had grown upon him. He required so very little. He had no luxurious home, a mere cottage of 4 rooms and a kitchen, over which an aged and doting mother ruled, her establishment consisting of one small maid. His office was a shack of 2 rooms, bare but useful, containing 1 chair and 1 desk, and anything he desired to find a temporary safe resting place for strewn about the floor, or hung upon nails driven into the walls. It was all he needed, a roof to shade him over from the blazing summer sun when he was making up his books, and 4 walls to shut out the cruel blasts of the Canadian winter. He was sitting at his desk now, poring over a heap of letters which had just arrived by the Eastern mail. This was the sort of thing he detested. Correspondence until